this right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too
Welcome to Revive Hi-Fi Canada, and our latest episode is on the Boston Acoustics CR7. That is the Compact Reference 7, and I am a big fan of Boston Acoustics. I made this the Keeper Series speaker, and there's a reason for that. We'll be going into that. Yeah, I love these speakers. These are were made in the mid 1990s, and I think they're made in the U.S. If I'm not mistaken, and they are about 12 pounds each. They are a two-way speaker, of course, one tweeter, one woofer. Their frequency response is 52 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and they cross over at about 2800 hertz. They have a sensitivity of 88 dB, so they're pretty easy to drive with your amp, especially with the impedance of 8 ohms. Build quality. These definitely pass the knock test. They're extremely solidly made. This particular series of Boston Acoustics, I've had the Boston A40, and I had the Compact Reference CR9, which is the bigger brother of this speaker, and that was an amazing speaker. That was before I had this channel, and it was quite large. I think it was close to, if I'm not mistaken, it could be close to 2 feet tall. That was a very large speaker. It had an 8-inch or 9-inch woofer. It just made beautiful sound, and I was told, or at least by others, that maybe it was because it was the flagship. The CR9 was the flagship in that series, that the others may or may not be quite as good. Maybe so, but I can tell you that this CR7, which is 2 steps down from the CR9, is absolutely excellent. And one thing I'm going to say right off the bat is that I just think it's amazing that it's kind of similar to the Monitor Audio Silver 107G. It has an 8-inch woofer in a 15.5-inch or so box. This has a 6.5-inch woofer, I believe 6.5-inch woofer in a only 12-inch tall box. And that is something that's hard to find right now. And what I like is that they've rear ported this speaker, so they keep the height lower, and it just makes for an excellent bass response in this speaker. And it gives you the option, at least in smaller rooms. I've not used this with a subwoofer, and it performs quite well, and the build quality is pretty impressive, just like the other members of this Compact Reference CR series. It has a front baffle that's made of plastic, and a back baffle back plate that's made of plastic as well. It's very hard plastic. It has a rubber surround on the speaker. It's got a very nice soft dome tweeter, and it has I think it's a paper cone or a polypropylene type of cone material. It feels like a kind of plasticky kind of material for the woofer, and these are good. I mean, they're fast. They spawn fast, and I decided during this speaker series of the Keepers that I would start doing these in 2 parts now, because I can talk about the build quality and how it relates to the sound quality. So the one part I don't like about this series is that it has metal grills, and the metal grills have to go onto the front of the speaker, and you have to be very careful how you put them into the grooves and reinsert them. I tend not to take the grills off. I'm a grills person on the speakers. I just really enjoy I like the tidiness of having the grill on the speaker. Many don't. I would say most people are opposite from my experience. I prefer the grills. I actually won't buy speakers unless they have the grills, unless it's a speaker that I just really want to try. I won't buy a speaker unless it has grills. So that's just me. But these I am truly impressed with. I brought them home and immediately thought that they should be on the Keeper series, and they've definitely well deserving. Go with the highs first. The highs, you won't believe me, this is a mid-90s speaker, right? So we're now talking mid-90s speakers, so we're about 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, they were making speakers this good. And that's quite impressive. The highs are not too shrill. They are on the more forward side, of course. My Boston A40s had a similar size, and they were more or less on the more forward size. But this, they're never too hard that they hurt your ears. So they weren't like my Klipsch R51M, which tended to be a little bit more difficult for me to listen to for long periods of time. These are definitely smooth. Like these highs are not grating, they're smooth. They're forward, but they're not grating. It's pretty amazing what they're able to do. And you know, the mids, Boston shines on the mids from my experience. That to me though, in this particular speaker, might be its slight Achilles heel, in that sometimes the highs are so detailed and the lows are pretty pronounced that sometimes there's a little bit muting in the mids, but that's me nitpicking. Otherwise, it's excellent in the mids too. Not outstanding, but I would say it's excellent in the mids. The lows, they're rated down to 52 hertz. They definitely, you know, are there. You can get enough bass out of these to listen to most typical types of music, and they make a pretty darn good speaker for your computer. If they're a bit large for you're actually putting on your desktop, so I would have stands. I have stands on the side of my computer. These are just for their age. I mean, most of the speakers that I've been putting in the Keeper series are from within the last decade. These are from 3 decades ago, so that kind of gives you an idea of how highly I regard these speakers. They're excellent, and they remind me of course, the bigger brothers, the CR9 in the same series, and that's high praise. I wasn't expecting them to be so good because of what I had heard, but they've definitely blown away my expectations. So the build quality, outstanding. The sound quality, whatever they've done with that woofer, it's large but still is able to convey all the details. They're fast. It must be quite rigid. I think it's the plastic type of material that it's made out of, so it still maintains rigidity and lightness to respond pretty quick to changes in the music. I listened to In Excess on here. It sounded super clear and super nice, and I listened to my wife and I listened to the Hall & Oates, and Hall & Oates, some of their music has such great instrumentals, and the voices are excellent, and these do not disappoint. They convey all of that musical information very well, and they are solidly made. They're heavy. They're definitely not light, and I just love the idea of a bigger woofer in a smaller box. It's an old school way. I mean, most of the new speakers tend to have a narrower type of cabinet. I'm going to review the DefTech speakers, DefTech Studio Monitor SM45s coming up, and those are excellent too, but these have a much bigger woofer, and they're in a same height of box. They're not quite as deep either, so they have a slightly different design than the newer speakers that tend to be narrower, have a smaller woofer, and have a deeper cabinet that kind of creates like a cannon inside the rear ported speaker, and it gives you a little bit more bass response from a smaller woofer. This on the other hand, the Boston CR7s gives you the bigger woofer and doesn't give quite as deep a cabinet. It reminds me in terms of design features similar to my Monitor Audio in terms of shape, not in terms of drivers. My Monitor Audio Silver 107G, where it isn't quite as deep, and they give you the big woofer. They've got the nice smooth tweeter on these, their dome, whereas of course the Monitor Audio drivers are completely different. But in terms of shape, they remind me of those, and in terms of the design choices that were made, and they do help the sound. The highs, I love the highs on these. the mids, like I said, they could be scooped a little bit, and the lows are more than ample here, and pretty impressive. I would say the depth of the cabinet though doesn't allow, it could go even lower if the cabinet was slightly deeper, but I can see why they made the choices that they did for the design. So enjoy. I'm going to play some samples through this speaker in the next little bit here. Super smooth sound, and see you next time. We're going to have a part 2 on this speaker with different types of amps, different amps running through these speakers to give you an idea of how they might sound with Class D, Class AB. So see you next time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time on Revive Hi-Fi Canada. Cheers. Bye.